Why would one of the most brilliant minds of modern philosophy declare that God is dead? What kind of moral revolution lies behind those words? And why did Friedrich Nietzsche, a man whose ideas still shape the modern world, see Christianity not as a salvation but as a sickness? Today, we're diving into the mind of one of philosophy's most misunderstood and misquoted figures, Friedrich Nietzsche, and his scathing critique of Christianity. Welcome to the unfolding journey, where ideas, philosophy, and the human condition meet in thoughtful exploration. If you're drawn to deeper questions about life, meaning, and belief systems that shape us, you're in the right place. In today's episode, we unfold the layers of Nietzsche's complex argument against Christianity, an argument not rooted in blind hatred, but in a fierce desire for truth and vitality. Before we dive into Nietzsche's critique, let's set the stage. Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900, was a German philosopher, cultural critic, and poet. His work addressed the foundations of morality, religion, art, and culture, and it often challenged the assumptions of Western thought. He wasn't just a philosopher with a bone to pick. He was a man wrestling with the deepest questions of existence in a time when traditional religious faith was beginning to falter under the weight of scientific discovery and modernity. Nietzsche was raised in a devout Lutheran household. His father was a pastor, so his criticisms of Christianity were not made from a distance, but from within a tradition he knew intimately. Nietzsche's declaration that God is dead is one of the most iconic and misunderstood statements in philosophy. He didn't mean it literally. He wasn't saying a divine being physically died. He meant that belief in the Christian God was no longer a viable foundation for morality or meaning in the modern world. The Enlightenment, scientific rationalism, and growing secularism had eroded the credibility of religious authority. God was, in Nietzsche's view, murdered by the very people who still claimed to believe in him, but no longer lived in a way that reflected true faith. In The Gay Science, Nietzsche writes, "God is dead. God remains dead. And we have killed him." This was not a triumphant announcement. It was a warning. With the collapse of belief in God, the foundations of Western morality and meaning were left exposed and fragile. Nietzsche feared that nihilism, a state in which life seems meaningless, would follow. One of Nietzsche's most important critiques of Christianity lies in his distinction between slave morality and master morality, explored in On the Genealogy of Morality. Nietzsche believed that in the ancient world, there existed what he called master morality, a value system grounded in strength, vitality, power, and pride. In contrast, slave morality emerged from the oppressed, the weak, and the resentful, those who had no power and thus glorified traits like humility, meekness, and self-denial. Christianity, Nietzsche argued, institutionalized slave morality. It reversed the natural values of life. Instead of affirming strength and nobility, it praised weakness, suffering, and sacrifice. In Nietzsche's view, this morality was not born of love or divine revelation, but of ressentiment, a deep resentment harbored by the weak against the strong. He saw this as a kind of moral revenge. The powerless, unable to assert themselves directly, created a moral system that painted power and success as evil and suffering as holy. Nietzsche's ultimate critique is that Christianity is life-denying. Whereas life is about growth, struggle, and affirmation, Christianity, in his eyes, encourages people to turn away from the world. It emphasizes sin, guilt, and the promise of a better life only after death. This, Nietzsche believed, leads to the suppression of natural instincts and human creativity. In The Antichrist, Nietzsche writes, "Christianity is a rebellion against natural instincts, a protest against nature." Taken to its logical extreme, Christianity would mean the systematic cultivation of the human failure. He saw Christian morality as one that condemned our instincts, our desires, and our bodies, replacing them with guilt and repression. In his eyes, it was not a celebration of life, but a denial of it. Nietzsche also criticized Christian virtues such as pity and compassion. While these may seem unquestionably good to many, Nietzsche saw them as dangerous. In The Antichrist, he suggests that pity prolongs suffering rather than ending it. It elevates weakness and prevents the growth that comes through struggle. To Nietzsche, true greatness comes from overcoming hardship, not from being protected from it. He writes, "Pity thwarts the law of evolution, which is the law of natural selection. It preserves what is ripe for decline." In other words, a morality built on pity, he believed, encourages stagnation and mediocrity, rather than excellence and strength. Nietzsche didn't just want to destroy Christianity. He wanted to revalue the entire structure of morality. With God dead, Nietzsche believed it was time for humanity to take full responsibility for its own values. This is where the concept of the Übermensch or Overman comes in. The Übermensch is the individual who creates their own values, lives authentically, and affirms life even in the face of suffering. Nietzsche writes, "Man is something to be overcome." This isn't about superiority in a political or racial sense, as some later misused it, but about personal transformation. The Übermensch represents a new kind of human being, one who is strong, creative, and free from the inherited guilt and self-denial of Christian morality. It's tempting to paint Nietzsche as simply anti-religious, but that would be an oversimplification. He admired many aspects of ancient religion, particularly the tragic worldviews of the Greeks, and respected the depth of religious feeling. What he opposed was not spirituality itself, but the form that it had taken in Christian doctrine, especially in the institutionalized church. He saw it as corrupt, life-negating, and rooted in fear and control rather than love or truth. Nietzsche even expressed deep concern for what would come after Christianity. He feared that once people abandoned belief in God, they would fall into despair or nihilism. His work can be seen as an urgent call to rebuild meaning from the ground up, without relying on outdated dogmas. Nietzsche's critique still resonates today. As society continues to grapple with questions about faith, morality, and meaning in a secular world, his warnings about nihilism and the need for personal responsibility remain urgent. Some see him as a liberator, challenging the hypocrisy of institutions and encouraging individual strength. Others see danger in his rejection of compassion and tradition. Either way, his thought cannot be ignored. If you found this exploration of Nietzsche's critique of Christianity thought-provoking, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us here at The Unfolding Journey. We dive deep into the big questions: belief, identity, culture, and beyond. Leave a comment below. What do you think about Nietzsche's critique? Is it a bold step toward freedom, or a dangerous rejection of essential values? Thanks for watching, and as always, keep questioning, keep unfolding.